An ECOWAS regional court sitting in Abuja has ordered the Nigerian government to pay $244 million in compensation to those affected by the Biafran War. The court has found the Nigerian government guilty of failing to demine and remove unexploded devices from the 11 states where the civil war was fought between 1967 and 1970. CGTN's Kelechi Emekelem has more.
Applicants and defendants are all seated at the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. They're here to witness the final ruling on a case that has been in the books for 5 years. It's a case that pitted the federal government against post-Biafran war claimants. Most of them have been maimed by mines and explosives left behind by the Biafran war. What's more, vast farmlands have also been abandoned for fear of accidental trigger of explosives scattered in the region. And finally, the government has not just agreed to rid the region of explosives, but also pay those who have suffered the consequences of a war 47 years after.
Not only will there be compensation to people that lost their limbs, that were victims of various explosions, landmines, but also the farmlands will be cleared. The farmlands will be cleared of all these bombs. You know, for 40-something years now, majority of the farmlands in the southeast and south-south has laid fallow because of fear of explosion.
Almost $140 million of the total award would be spent on compensation of war victims, and over $100 million would be spent on demining and destruction of unexploded ordinances.
This is the only regime that had given life to the 3R, the reconciliation, reconstruction and rehabilitation. It has all been words and no action. And so we thank the present regime for taking this bold step, for agreeing to out-of-court settlement.
The Biafran War involved 11 states in southeast and southern Nigeria attempting to break away from the Nigerian state. It lasted only 2 years and 6 months, but the cost was colossal. Over 1 million people were killed, and the scars of the war are still evident nearly 5 decades later. This ruling comes in the wake of fresh calls for Biafran breakaway, and President Buhari has already spoken about it with an uncompromising tone. He said the unity of Nigeria shall not be negotiated, and those pushing for a breakaway shall be dealt with firmly. Kelechi Emekelem, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
Him to be released on bail. Chapter 4, Section 39 of the Nigerian Constitution says that every person shall be entitled to freedom of expression, including freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart ideas and information without interference. I therefore call upon the President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, to uphold his country's constitution, to ensure Nnamdi Kanu's immediate and safe release. The Nigerian government must guarantee the freedom of expression of all Nigerian citizens, including their right to protest without intimidation, and end violence towards those who identify as Biafran. And I call on my colleagues here in the European Parliament to do much more to promote human rights in Nigeria.
Onorevole Boylan.
The United Nations Human Rights Council Working Group on Arbitrary Detention has indicted Nigeria and Kenyan governments over the arrest and extraordinary rendition, torture and continued detention of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, without due process. The UN therefore asked the Nigerian government to immediately release Kanu unconditionally and pay him adequate compensation for the arbitrary violation of his fundamental human rights. While recommending that government officials responsible for the torture of the IPOB leader be investigated and punished, the UN body further directed Nigeria to report back within 6 months of the transmission of its opinions on Kanu's matter, steps taken to comply with all recommendations thereof. The 16-page report dated July 20th, 2022 was adopted on April 4th by the Working Group on Arbitrary Detention at its 93rd session held between March 30th and April 8th, 2022.
Not at all. What should I do? It's what we expect to happen. But I want our people to be very calm. I want BIAFRA land to be calm and peaceful. Calm and very, very peaceful. We are fighting to defend our people. Not to kill them. Yes. We are fighting to defend them. That's why I'm here. Yes. And we'll continue to do so until we get victory.